So let's connect our template to our MVC. Okay, so if you downloaded the template, which the link is in the description, you're going to get a compressed file, and after you extract it, you're going to have this folder. So inside the folder, there's eShopper, that's the folder. And then there are all these files that we need here. Okay, so what I will do is go back a step and copy the eShopper, copy that. And then now I'm going to go to my eShop folder here in htdocs, and I'm going to go inside app and then inside views, and then I'm going to paste the folder in here. All right, so the folder is eShopper here. Now it's a good idea to avoid using uppercase letters and so on. So what I will do is I'll rename this folder to just eShop, something shorter, put small letters for easy access. So in here, inside the views, you can put as many templates as you want, and then on your website you can simply add something to select a different theme depending on how you want your website to look like. So in this case, we are using this one. So now what we need to do is convert all these files into PHP files. So I'm going to start with the index.html. I'll convert this to a PHP. I'll say yes. So make sure that if you can't see your file extensions, just go to folder options here, and then tick this one, hide extensions for non-file types. So then I'm going to get the login page as well and put PHP at the end. And then the sign up page, where is the sign up? Oh, actually it's the same page, has login and sign up there. Okay, so this is great. Now we can begin to use the files here. So take note of the file path here. It's app views eShop. So let me come back here to my MVC, and then I'm going to go to my home controller, because this is the one that shows us what view to actually display. So here, instead of just home, I know it's already inside views and we were accessing this home page directly there, but instead we will do eShop, and then we'll say index, like so, because that's the page name. Don't forget not to put the PHP at the end. And then now when I refresh, I should get the file that I want, but I am not getting this file. So what we could do here is actually, that's because I added home here, so I'm not supposed to add home there. So it's supposed to just be eShop index, because up to this point it's inside the views folder. So it's eShop then index. So let me try that again, and there we go. So now we have loaded our page, and if you've noticed something, the CSS is missing. Okay, so now connecting the CSS is a little bit tricky, so I'm going to show you how we do that. So let me move all the, let me go back to the folder, and then I'm going to get all these things like CSS, fonts and images, all these assets here, and I'm going to cut these out, go to the eShop public folder, and then inside assets, I'll create another folder with the same name, eShop. And then I'm just going to paste everything in there. So all the assets are in here and we've moved them. So now the thing to do is, if let me go and open our template for a moment here. Let me go back to app, views, eShop, and then index.php. All right, so this is our page right here. Now we have everything we need here, except that things like everything where there's a source, for example, these images here, these images /home, something like this. excuse me. And then we have all these files here like Bootstrap, Font Awesome, all these things that are here. They cannot find, the page cannot find these files. Now this is because of the way we've structured our system here, because every request that is made goes to the index page unless it's an actual folder or an actual file. So in order to combat that, we need to put the full path inside the, let's say for example, let me get this CSS here. Let me go down here. And what I will do is put the full path here so that you see, once I put the full path, everything will be fine. Now the full path here starts with HTTP. So it's HTTP // localhost, like that, / and then we're going to go to eShop because that's the folder. And then inside eShop, we're going to go to public. That's the public folder. And then inside the public folder, we have, what do we have in there? We have assets. And then in there, we have eShop and then / like so. Let me remove the word wrap, save that, and then let me go back and refresh. So at this point, we should get something more useful, and there we go. So as you can see, all the Bootstrap and all that stuff is now loading as required. Okay, so far so good, except the images. So I have to go and give the images an absolute path as well. But this is a bit of a problem because this information I've added here only works if we are on the localhost server. Now you can imagine if you upload your website on the internet and this localhost changes to www.yourwebsite.com, so everything will stop working again. And even if you move your site to another place, the same thing will happen if you had corrected the same mistakes again. So this is not very sustainable. So instead, what we will do is recreate this sentence right here dynamically so that if we change our website, it automatically changes with it. So let me undo this at this point. I'm going to undo, save. So here we are back to normal. So what I will do is go to the index page because this is the reference point. So inside, I think I can access it from right here. So I will click on index.php. So apparently we need to add one more thing here before I do any of this. So let's add it at the top here before we load in the initialize file. So let's go up here. Actually, for me to, okay, but I think that's fine. So what I will do is try to get the information that I want from the server. So what I will do now is echo out the server. I will echo out the server. So I will put the cursor down here because I know there's a function inside functions here which does show. So I want to use this one. That's why I've gone down here a little bit. So I want to do something like show server. So $server, like that. So this one contains all the information that is inside the server. So this is the information that I needed here. So what I want to do is, because the server gives its own information depending on what it is, so it would be a good idea to get our information from there. So for example, the server name here is shown. So if the server changes, then as long as I have this, then I can get whatever that server name is at that time. Okay, so the request scheme as well is HTTP. Sometimes it could be HTTPS, right? So we can get the request scheme from there. Okay, so let me go back here. So these two things that we need. Also document root. So we have document root here. Okay, and we have save a name. Okay, so I'm going to copy these things here. It looks like this is what I need. And I'm going to put these guys over here. Okay. So what I want to do now is I'm just going to say something like root is equal to. So you can use any variable here. You could simply say a for lack of a better term. That's still fine. So what I want to get now is the request scheme here. So I will do this. I'll say server request scheme. That's what we begin with. And then I will concatenate with a dot. And I want to put the full colon / like so. And then instead of putting a localhost there, of course, I will get another server variable here. So I will go to server name. That's the one with the server. Goody. So far, so good. And then I want to connect. What do I want to connect? The document root here. Actually, the problem with document root is that it has this here, which I don't actually need. I just want to get actually this. Let's go back here a minute, because I want to find one, for example, script name. And then there's a PHP self. Okay, this is great. So the one I want is PHP self here, because it has all this up to the end there. Even a script name actually has that. Okay, so let me copy PHP self. And then I will put it here. So let's remove the wrapping of words here for a second. So copy that. Actually, just up to there. Paste. Do the same here. So PHP self. Now PHP self actually comes with that slash there, so we are good to go. And then at the end here for a moment, let me do that. And then what I want to do now is to echo out this at the end here, show A. But obviously this part is unnecessary now, so I can remove it. Okay, so we've defined what A is, and then we're just showing it here. So let me see what we get at the very top. So there we go. So we have HTTP / localhost eShop public. But of course, we don't need the index.php. So if we remove that, then we have our path. So all I need to do now is just to say A is equal to string replace. So we want to replace the string. And what we are looking for is index.php and replace it with nothing. Empty string. And the subject is the string A, like so. So A is equal to whatever that is. So now I'm going to create some definitions here to begin with. So we're going to define and say define. Now define is a way to create what are called constants. So these are just like variables, just like I said A is equal to that. The only difference is once you define that variable here, it's a constant, it won't change, so you can't change it later. So here I want to define one variable. I'm going to call it root, like this. And then the value of root is going to be here, this A. So here I want to call root. So the way you retrieve the data there is just to type a root like that. So show root. And let's go back and see. So now root has our root path, which is great. Yes, okay, that's about it. And then from root, I'm going to want to create one more definition for the assets folder, like that, so that it's easier to, instead of having to type some extra stuff for the assets, no problem. I'm going to say A and then concatenate. Actually, just to be more descriptive, what I will do is let me change this A to something more descriptive like path, like so. It's much better. I'm going to say path, and then at the end here, I'm going to add assets. So just to be sure that there's a slash at the end there, so I don't add an extra one here, and then assets. So this is the assets. Okay, so I think let's echo out assets and see that in action. Alrighty, so on line 12 we have a syntax error, unexpected semicolon. That's line 12. Okay, that's because we didn't add our closing bracket there. Okay, so there we go. This is the assets folder. Very good. Okay, so let me finish that up and close this part. So the definitions here are set to go. This is actually it. So let's close the index.php page. And now all we have to do here, back in our index.php, the one inside views where we want to see this thing, all we need to do is echo out the root path. So you do PHP and then echo, and then you say root. Actually, this one is assets. And then close that one, like so. Now, the only difference is that in our roots folder, we have a folder there called eShop because of this template. So I'm going to add that at the end, like so. And if I come back here, that should sort the problem out. All right, so very, very good. Now we have a very dynamic way of accessing our root folder. So we should do that for the images as well, and so on. Okay, now just one more point to note here. Instead of having to do PHP echo like this, you can remove this entire part like that and just put an equal sign like so. So this is exactly the same as saying PHP tags and then echo like so. You will see that it still actually works. Okay, so before we go any further, let's add a few more definitions here. So I'm going to go to the core folder here, right click and create a new file. I'm going to call this file config.php. Save that and hit save. So the config is the one that contains all the configurations that you need for your website to run. So for example, I can define a few things here. I'll say website name, website underscore name, or you can say website title. And then here I'm going to say, what is our title? Okay, instead of eShopper, let's add something, let's say my shop, something we can see that it's different. Okay, so we've defined that one as the website title. So we can add some few more definitions, like for example, for our database. So we can have DB name, like so. Now you can comment these things out, of course. You can comment database name so that you can remember what these things are. So database name here is going to be eShop underscore DB. That's what we will name it. So let me do a couple more of these. So there's DB name, and then there's DB. There's also DB type. If you want to use a different DB in future, you can put type as well, but we won't be doing that. We're using MySQL, so this is all set. So the DB name, and then there's the user, and then there's the password, DB password, and then there's the DB name, user, password, and what else am I missing here? Okay, if we are missing something, we'll add it when we are creating the DB, the database itself. So here the user is always root for localhost, and then there's no password, so we'll leave it empty like that. So you can add a lot of definitions here. For example, you can also define and say debug, for example, and then you can put whether it's true or false. So debug mode true. So this could be used when you so that once you upload it to your actual website, you don't want to see any errors, so you set this to false. So I'm setting it to true now because we are in debug mode. Okay, so as a result, if I do this now, I can actually add a definition here for my config. I can say something like if debug, right? So if we are in debug mode, we're going to say ini set. This is how you set, you put PHP settings in here. Normally the PHP settings live inside the ini file, which you can find on the control panel if you go to Apache and then you say config and PHP ini. So there are settings here which tell PHP how to run, which you may need to change sometimes. For example, display errors. So I can easily change it from here by using ini set like this. And I'm going to say there's a setting called display errors, and I'm going to set that one to 1 like that. But if this is false, we will set it to 0 like this. So if debug, do that. If not, do that. Okay, so this way you just need to change this to either true or false, and then it's going to work out down here. But then, since we've added this config to our core, we have to add it inside the init.php here. So let's add it at the very beginning, at the very top here, and say config, because usually most of the other files need it first. So config.php. So let's try and refresh to see that we haven't broken anything, and so far it seems we haven't. Okay.